Yes, sir.
So just continue. We'll just start. Um, Yesterday we discussed about logistics. I mentioned that uh, issues related to or processes related to supply chain management and logistics in particular are closely related to cargo, and that's where we are going towards cargo handling at the airports. So we have one more topic to handle in between, discuss in between, which is warehouse management and inventory, which are integral part of the supply chain management system. So, in the whole scheme of events, where a cargo is being handled at the airport, uh, and it's being eventually delivered to a person, a company. Now we are talking about commercial cargos, not individual passage baggages, etc. So materials which are to be carried by cargo being processed at the airport and being eventually used by the end user. In this entire scheme of events, the processes, the warehouse management, and inventory do have an important place. So, similar to logistics, the discussion on logistics, we have to also briefly look at these topics related to warehouse as well as inventory. So, that's what we are now trying to address. So since we have already discussed about logistics, it will be good to place this term warehousing in the context of supply chain management and in contrast to what we had discussed about logistics. As we have seen, logistics refers to the movement of goods, movement actually the ensuring the flow of goods, so we and also services and information within the supply chain. Now, as opposed to that, warehousing focuses on the storage of goods. Actually, logistics has part of it as storage of goods, storage as well as movement. But warehouse is focused on storage of goods, that is on a large scale, and also making them available when needed, or making them available for transportation when and where required. So, transportation is not part of warehousing. Warehousing is focused on storage. Now, to clarify that further, any processes that are related to storage. So, it's not just so when you say management of warehouse, it's not just the management of the goods or their stocks. It also covers. So warehousing, when the term as it is used in business practices, involves all activities related to that. So it's not just the goods, the the labor, the services associated with that, the personnel associated with that, managing their work, their hierarchy, their protocols, the processes that they should follow, etc. So all these form part of warehousing or the management of warehousing. And it's quite obvious that any, as I mentioned earlier, that is the entire process that that gets followed in the supply chain has warehousing also as an integral part of it, because inevitably you will require to have spaces where it can be stored either for a short period or for a long time or for a longer duration. So it could be the storage of raw materials or finished goods, but you will require a place for that. Now, we will be also discussing how to minimize that storage requirements. But then you cannot get rid of it altogether in a supply chain system. So that's the importance. That is where this process, what we refer to as warehousing, fits into the whole scheme of supply chain management. Just showing this picture once again, where we have this entry of warehousing as well as inventory control, which we are going to discuss next, as part of the distribution system. So we have discussed about logistics. Logistics also has inventory as part of it. The management of inventory. Inventory refers to stock. We'll go to that later. Sorry. These are sort of interlinked. The logistics, management of inventory, management of warehouse, and the whole process of distribution. So they are strongly coupled, and they have factors which are common to the various aspects. So now we'll be focusing on warehousing, and later we'll also briefly discuss about inventory, the processes followed for that, and how to minimize the storage requirements. Why do you require a warehouse? Now, in simple terms, when you say warehouse, as we all know, it just refers to a safe and secure space where you can safely store goods. So the term warehouse is a place where you can safely store the goods, either finished products or raw materials, as the case may be. But the basic requirements for that is that it should ensure the stock and ensure buffer storage against fluctuating supply or demand. That is, demand can be sometimes, or in many situations, the demand cannot be forecast, cannot be subject to a forecast in a very accurate manner. So there can be fluctuations which are not foreseen, but despite that, the supply chain should not be affected. There should be neither too much of goods, neither too less of materials that can meet the demand. So ensuring the adequate or buffer storage against fluctuations in supply or demand, which requires a place where the materials, raw materials or the finished goods can be stored, and it should be safe and safe from damage, deterioration, etc. Deterioration, particularly when it refers to raw materials, they are susceptible, or they are more likely to undergo deterioration, so that they cannot be used for production. So and also for finished goods, they are like they should be protected from damage. So the storage space should be in such a way that they are safe from damage and deterioration, and obviously should be safe from theft also. Anticipated inflation. Inflation is also an external factor. It's not in the control of the manufacturer, not in the control of the supplier, not in the control of the whole management system. So, and particularly when there is an anticipated trend, when short-term inflation is predicted, then it's from the business sense, it makes sense to have more supply stored, so that can be sort of leveraged against any possible inflation, particularly when it's going to be of higher scales. And so that also hints at the requirement of having sufficient storage and sufficient space for storage. And from time to time, to have sufficient sufficient supply to meet additional demands from new markets, so market expansion, and also for accurate stock keeping and auditing. Stock keeping and auditing, that is to have proper account for what is available, what has been moved out, or what has been kept, or etc. That requires a proper place where you can have the storage, which can be either quantified in terms of numbers, masses, or etc., depending on the type of materials that is being stored. So it all the auditing is very important in the management of the whole supply chain, and warehouse is required to have it's required to have warehouse where you can have proper stock keeping and audit. Now, depending on the type of operation, the popular modes of operation of warehouses, from industry to industry and also from company to company, you can have different types of warehouses. probably one of the most common ones is to have private warehouses. That is, a company has its own warehouse where they keep the materials, the raw materials, or the supply of or the materials for distribution, etc. For example, you can see in many places you can nowadays see these big shopping malls. They have their own warehouses, their own private warehouses, because the movement, the storage that is required is quite high. The frequency of movement, etc., are quite high for such big shopping malls and supermarkets, etc. And the diversity of goods, even which includes even perishable stuff like food items, etc. They are also in large amounts, large quantities, which require proper safe storage. So all of them quite often have private warehouses which are dedicated for their own business, their own outlets. So that's what is meant by warehouses, private warehouses. As opposed to that, a public warehouse is something which can be leased or which can be rented out to anybody who wants to use it for a specified duration. They can also be under the government ownership. Government warehouses also referred to as public warehouse. So whether they are leased out or rented, etc. Regardless of that, if it is owned by the government, is referred to as public warehouse. Public warehouses can also be privately owned if they are being sort of not being used exclusively by the owner, but is available for leasing out. So that's a definition for public warehouses. Leased warehouses is for a given, which is already given on rent for a given period. So for that particular, it's not available for anybody else to rent, to take charge of. So a leased warehouse is which is given to a third party for a fixed period. A bonded warehouse is where these are specific to so we nowadays have a lot of special economic zones in India. This actually is also an outcome of the 1990, the early 1990s economic liberalization policy, which led to a lot of lot of facilities provided for companies to operate by sort of isolating them from many of the taxation requirements, etc. So providing facilities which are sort of under special considerations. So such kind of zones or areas are referred to as special economic zones. So a bonded warehouse is which is a storage facility which is situated within the geographic limits of a special economic zone. And the most characterizing, the most important aspect of it is that the movement of goods in and out will be without payment of taxes or with subsidized taxes. So the common tax system that prevails in the rest of the country, rest of the area, does not apply. That does not apply to a bonded warehouse. So that's a very specific situation, and we have bonded warehouses in special economic zones, and they are meant for export. Then you have in-bonded warehouse, which is like duty-free shops, etc., where the materials are imported and stored for sale. So these are some of the popular categorizations of private of warehouses based on the types of operation. Now, each of them will be linked or can be linked or are linked to supply chain, and eventually the air cargo, as we'll see later, the cargo movement will have an impact on the, or we can facilitate the functioning of each of these warehouses. So these are based on the types of operations. Now, depending on the objective or the function, the intended function of an airport, of a warehouse, you can categorize them as production centered or market centered. And I guess that description or that types are quite self-explanatory. Production centered warehouse is a warehouse that is attached to a manufacturing unit. where you have um, materials, maybe raw materials or spare parts, etc., which all go eventually to a production line. So facilitating the production at a factory, a manufacturing unit. The supply, the storage system that provides materials to a manufacturing unit, a factory, is referred to as production-centered warehouse. As opposed to that, a market-centered warehouses. This is similar to what I had mentioned earlier, warehouses of say like shopping malls or supermarkets, etc. There, they keep the finished products which are ready to be sold off the counter, and they facilitate steady supply of finished products to the market. So if the products are ready for supply to the customer and are being stored, that kind of a warehouse is referred to as a market centered warehouse. So they are going to be readily sold out to the market. Whereas a production centered house, warehouse, you don't have finished products. You have a lot of raw materials, spare parts, etc., which are going to production line. So then after that, you will have finished products, which will eventually go to a market centered warehouse. So these are the two types of warehouses. The categorization being based on the functions or the intended objectives, intended functions of them. So again, a sketch that sort of relates to the various processes that connect the various elements within WMS. WMS refers to warehouse management system. In fact, nowadays there are several software solutions which are provided for WMS, warehouse management systems. In fact, the many of the, in fact, all of the service software companies like Infosys, TCS, etc., have a major domain which is dedicated for the software like this, including warehouse management system, inventory management, etc. So they all have what they usually call, I guess, the verticals, which are focused on this kind of application development. Anyway, so when you say warehouse management system, it sort of relates all these processes and elements where the material is received, classified and sorted out, and then moved using logistics infrastructure, moved from one place to another, packaged and then dispatching, etc. So the entire scheme of events come under the warehouse management system. Please remember that when we say warehouse, it's only a place where it is stored. But when you say warehouse management, it involves all activities that are related to the processes that go through a warehouse or connecting it to the supply chain. So the management involves all processes or activities related to the operations of a warehouse. Now, so now we have just discussed about the system that is referred to as warehouse. Now we are going to what is meant by inventory, because inventory control or inventory management is also related to the supply chain. I'll just go back to the previous this one. We have inventory management showing up under logistic management, also under the and also under the distribution system where you have inventory control. So we'll now let's look at some of the basic aspects of what is meant by inventory and what are the some of the systems used for optimizing the inventory. Any questions or remarks before that? I guess I have I'll continue this. I think I have misplaced the slide. I'll correct it. I should talk about this first. Warehouse management and inventory management. So we'll just try to differentiate between these two terms. In fact, uh, from our general understanding and from what we know about things going around, we know what is warehouse and what is inventory. I'm just trying to put the appropriate definitions for them in place so that there is clarity in the intended usage of the terms in business. So that's the purpose of the description in the on this slide. Warehouse management, as we have discussed already, refers to the various processes related to maintaining and controlling a business warehouse. So you have a business and you have an associated warehouse of it for it, and controlling all the processes that related to that, all through anything that is related to that storage system, which will also have movement of materials to and fro, etc. This is all come under the management of warehouse, or the whole system is referred to as warehouse management system. Now, as opposed to that, inventory focuses on goods. What is being stocked, the movement, the accounting of it, the supply, what is the requirement, what is being stored there, in terms of appropriate methods of quantification. It could be in numbers, in dimensions, or the mass, weight, etc. So inventory management is focused on stocked goods, the goods which are being stored. When I say goods, it could be finished products, or it could be raw materials in whatever form they are. It could be spare parts, etc., which are to be supplied to a production line. So uh, when you say inventory management, it is focused on the goods, the materials which are being stored. And why do you need to have it? Because at any point of time, the business would like to know how much is in stock, how much is to be ordered, what is the balance that is available, when the order has to be placed, and when it has to be manufactured, or when it has to be supplied to the market, etc. So all this requires keeping track of a company's stocked goods, and then managing this process is referred to as inventory management. So from these definitions, it's obvious that the operations are closely coupled. In fact, you may see that in many places, people may use these terms interchangeably: warehouse management and inventory management, or even the terms like warehouse and inventory interchangeably. But then in the strictest sense, warehouse refers to all the processes, the space, and the materials, etc., related to the warehouse. But inventory refers to the stocked goods, their amount, their categorization, their quality, uh, the quantity in terms of weight, dimension, etc. So that is the difference between the two. But then, despite this difference, the two are integrated. They are strongly integrated, or they are strongly coupled with each other for obvious reasons. Now we will, so that having clarified that term, I hope it's clear. If you have any question, you can please ask. Otherwise, we'll go to what is to the one method of inventory management, which is a relatively new trend in inventory management, which is referred to as just-in-time, JIT. Probably you would have come across that in other contexts. We just focus on that before we go to the discussion of cargo handling. Any questions so far? Okay, I guess I can. Or I'll just state this and then we'll go to the presentations this morning. So JIT, just-in-time inventory system. Before we actually go to JIT, just keep in mind. So what I listed here are some of the concepts or some of the requirements which eventually led to the formulation of what is referred to as just-in-time inventory system, usually used as used in short form as JIT, or some people use it as JITS, JITS. Again, it was always identified that it is better to have lower inventory, so that you don't you don't require a lot of space to keep things. You don't I mean, the space is very costly, actually very expensive. Warehousing, one of the major issues associated with warehousing is the space. Whether it's a privately owned or publicly owned, or is it is leased out, etc., the cost that is associated with the utilization of space is quite high. So you probably wouldn't like to keep too many things stored at the same time, primarily because of the space. So the minimizing the space, efficient use of the space, and production, improve the cycle counts, how fast you can improve the you can have the change in cycles, and also updating the materials. So if you are storing too much of a too much if you are storing goods in too high a quantity, is quite often it may happen that unless you clear them, you cannot update the materials. You cannot bring in new materials to the market or to the production chain, as the case may be. So to minimize all that, the delays in the cycle, this one, etc., you need to have it is ideal to have low inventory, and that also will help reduction in paperwork, and then work personally. Obviously, the labor that is associated with the warehouse will warehouse will be lower if the inventory is lower. So all this highlight the requirement for having a low inventory scenario, and that is where this method of just-in-time inventory system comes in. We'll discuss that in more detail in the next session. For now, I'll stop, and I'll request the team one to share and do their presentation. Before that, small announcement. We need to have one quiz added to the overall internal evaluation system. So we have all these assignments. I like to have one quiz for. That's why I'll give a very short quiz. A very short quiz on AUMS objective type. Won't take more than 15 minutes for sure, maybe even less than that. A few questions, but then the portions that would be that also I'm just keeping it very short. So just have two sessions. The portions that pertain to two sessions. One was one airport planning, and the other environmental regulation. So we'll have a quiz focused on these two sessions only, the materials for these two sessions only, which I have already posted last week in Teams, so you can go through them at your convenience. And we will have it on Sunday morning session. Whenever we have, I guess the same slot we have the class. Sorry, what did I say? Thursday on 17th February. Morning session, the same session. We will have part of the time, 10 to 15 minutes, we'll save for this test objective type on AUMS. So please make a note of it. I'll also keep this in the Teams. This one, team, the chats, so for your ready reference. The materials are already uploaded, so you can go through them at your convenience. So please remember the time, 17th, that is Thursday morning, as part of the session from when this started, 11 to 12. 11 to 12, yeah. So some 10-15 minutes we'll spare for this quiz. With that, I wind up. Team one may please share their screen and start presenting.
So is the screen visible?
It's visible, yes.
So hello, I'll be presenting on the behalf of Group 1 on the topic logistics model of Amazon India. Now,
Sorry
yes,
to interrupt.
yes.
Can you? This is how many presentations have you made already? I'm just trying to take this one of this team one.
Sir, I think
I guess it is
this is fourth one. I think.
for this is fourth, right?
Yeah,
Fifth
yeah.
one, sir.
Fifth.
That's what I was saying. This you have already
Okay,
made four.
fifth. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
You have already made four presentations, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is the fifth one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption. Please carry.
It's okay. So I'll just I'll cover a very basic framework of how they go through their day-to-day process. So before that, actually, there are three stages when a product starts from the manufacturer till it reaches the consumer. So they are inbound, outbound, and reversed. So inbound takes care of the resources, materials or services, goods that enter the system. The majority they get done in the manufacturing sector, and Amazon they are not concerned with it too much. They come under the category of the outbound logistics, where they are outbound and reversed, where they have to kind of uh, take care of the storing of the goods, and also take care of the customer service, where if the products are damaged or what, or they have to be refurbished, they are taken back from the customer. So outbound, as it's written, it's the delivering right product at the right time at minimum cost. And the reverse logistics is the segment where the customer returns something or sells something online. Now, there are actually three types of sellers. First is the first party, where the merchant of record, which is the legal owner of the product. So what he does is he buys these goods from the manufacturer directly. So this is sometimes done by Amazon, and the second party is nothing but Amazon buys it from the wholesale. So the wholesale guy is the second party seller. Now in India, the problem is that due to some rules, the government has not allowed Amazon, these e-commerce people, to directly buy it from the wholesale or the manufacturers. So they anyways have to buy it from the third party most of the time. So Amazon, they operate in India as third party retailers. So here the merchant of record, that is the legal owner of the goods, is the actually the retailer itself. So he uses Amazon as a platform to display his product to the customers in a larger scale. So what happens is some items are actually labeled uh, according to who sells them and who ships them. Now suppose if Amazon owns the product, it shows it is shipped from and sold by Amazon. But you would have not seen that label much in India. The label fulfilled by Amazon or sold by the retailer is the most common one. So what it means by fulfilled by Amazon is that these third-party retailers, what they do is they come and take advantage of Amazon's logistics, where they store their goods in the fulfillment centers of Amazon, or they actually directly using their own logistics. They may even sell it directly to the consumers. So they just use Amazon as a platform to gather customers. Actually, Amazon comes and they focus more on the market based warehousing management and inventory management. So now there are two options for actually the third parties. Either one is the FBA and one is the FBS. FBS fulfilled by Amazon. It means fulfilled by Amazon. Like what they do is, as I said, that they'll hand over their goods to the Amazon to Amazon, and Amazon will take care of their selling, customer service, and whatever it is. So these third-party retailers, they can, after they hand over their products to Amazon, they have to just pay fees for the storage of the products depending on the volume that it occupies, and the type of storage it requires, and many other parameters. After they give to Amazon, they can just relax and concentrate on their own business. So the market is taken care of Amazon, while the manufacturing and other side of the business can be taken care of these retailers or manufacturers. Now the next option is that fulfilled by the seller option, where they have to take care of their own logistics, their own customer support and service. So if they are able to manage that, then they are open to do it. Next is the Amazon uses Amazon uses third-party logistics for transportation. As it's shown for Western states, it uses a company called Patel Transport. For South, VRL Logistics and etc. They also have tie-up with air carriers like GoAir and Indigo for air service. Uh, now recently, under the name of Amazon Logistics, they are slowly trying to bring their own logistic service. Now, what they are doing is they are making fulfillment centers. Fulfillment centers are nothing but their job is to receive the products and make them ready for shipment, and storage. So they see they locate strategic center places for making such spaces, such large storage spaces for sellers to store there. So what the sellers have to do is they have to through their own transport, most of the time they have to come and place their products there. Now for sometimes it is not possible. So what they do is there is option for shopkeepers and landlords to offer their own space for rent. So there is a scheme called IF Space, under which the shopkeepers and people like that can register, and they can offer Amazon a small space. So this also helps Amazon to expand their business to very remote places and help in the last mile delivery. So there is also a good thing that they have done, where they also hire people in contract basis. Like they don't directly freelance people who are freelancing. They can work for Amazon on a contract basis under their own flexible schedule. By delivering, they can help them deliver products for from the warehouses and shops. And this also helps Amazon to go to very remote places in India. Now, the tech facilities that the all-in-one tech facilities are given by Amazon, where they can track the package and they can sort out materials, sort out products, and they can keep a track of the movement of goods from the warehouse or even from the suppliers and everywhere. They can track each and every movement of the goods from the moment it comes to them till the moment it goes to the consumers. So this is in short of how Amazon works. Thank you. So that's all.
Good presentation. Good presentation. Thank you. And can you
Yes.
go to the first slide, first or second? I
Yes.
don't know, but just go to the first. That is after the title.
This one.
Yes. In this, you mentioned that in India, Amazon is not allowed to buy it from the wholesaler, from the manufacturer. They have, as per the government rules.
Yes.
Do you think there is a reason for that? Why might the government have made a rule like that?
Sir, because many small scale industries, retailers, they will lose their opportunity to earn.
That's correct. Yeah. That will be that's going to be sort of safe. Probably it will be profitable for Amazon if they can avoid the in between. But then I guess the spirit of the government rule is to help the small scale operators, small scale sellers in between, so that they don't go out of they don't go out of business.
Yes.
And in the next one also, I had a point to be clarified from you. Amazon. It just you have all the bullets now on this.
Sir, which slide you're asking?
Yeah, the slide that you are showing now. 2 options for BPX.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, show all the bullets. I guess there is one more bullet on this, right? Below.
No, so this is only 2.
This one. Okay, fine. So fulfilled by this these people. Yeah. So what do you, that the last point? Can you just explain that?
The second
Fulfilled by
point,
this,
sir.
these people. No, the second point. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens
these
is,
people-
yeah, what happens is, suppose if you have some goods to sell and you don't want to, because you can't like use Amazon's spaces, storage spaces and all other services for free. So suppose if there is a very less margin compared to their own logistics, the local logistics people, uh, they'll like use they'll not prefer Amazon, sir. So what they'll do is they'll just use Amazon as a platform to display their product. So the Amazon, when the customer places an order, the Amazon's only work is to inform the seller that you have an order coming, and so these people they'll hire their own logistics to deliver the goods, sir. That's it.
That's clear. That's clear to me. But then, you clarified that. No, then my only remaining doubt is, then say the guy who, say for example, in the campus we have these Amazon guys coming daily, right?
Yes.
So if seller is doing his own logistics, so he eventually gives it to this fellow where at the delivery center, wherever it is, or do they what my question is, do they do the delivery as well, the personal handing over also?
So personal means they also hire people, but I don't think they'll give it to the same logistics people that Amazon hires.
Oh, okay. So they so if it is if it's fulfilled by seller, then the
Yeah.
persons who will hand it over to you here in the campus also will be people who that they have hired, not
Yeah.
Amazon.
Not Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
Okay,
to
I'm
like
done.
that's
For,
no
sorry.
maybe under the table like to save some money here and there they
It's
might
that's what probably in the last minute there may be some
yeah.
this one. Yeah, that's I think that's all from us. Anybody has any questions to me? No. Okay, then we'll hopefully we'll have time for the second presentation also. Team 2.
Hello, sir.
Team 2. You can share and present.
Sir, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Sir, actually, I didn't attend yesterday's class. Can I do it tomorrow, sir? Is it possible?
You belong to
Team 2,
room.
sir.
Nobody attended the class from team 2. Nobody attended
No, sir.
yesterday.
Actually, everyone else presented. It is my turn today.
It was your turn. Okay, that's fine.
Yes,
No
sir.
issue. So you can what is to be presented, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
know
Yes,
the
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the same similar this ones with with respect to Flipkart.
Flipkart. Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So you can do that tomorrow morning. Yeah, no issue.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Team 3 can then maybe we can when probably we'll stop here now. We'll have 3 and 4 present in the afternoon. Okay. Okay. Then. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.